Can you give me a thumbs up when you see me on the screen? Yeah. Pardon? Okay, hello everybody. Sorry we've had a little bit of a delay. Let's get my bottle of water. Thanks for joining us here at Best Practice. We're almost on time. And let me just have a quick look at where we're at. We're just waiting for a few more viewers to come online. So once we do that, I'll kick off. And I won't carry on with too much fluff like the usual webinars. So thanks for joining us. And just give us about another minute. Let a few more people come online. And then we'll go from there. So I'll just wait for a couple more people to come online and then we'll kick off our Internal Audits Made Easy webinar. Now Beck, if you drag the mouse across here and click on here and just go through the slides for me. So just hang on a sec, we'll get going. So bear with us folks, thanks for coming online this afternoon. Appreciate your time. We're just going to wait for a few more viewers to catch up and then we'll get stuck into it. So thanks for joining us. It's always a little bit hectic here at Best Practice getting one of these live events going. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your afternoon. I hope what I've got for you this afternoon is a lot of fun. Maybe demystifies quite a boring topic and we'll get some questions. While we're waiting, I'll just wait for a few more people to come online. We've got a lot of registrations. We've got over 320 people registered for this event today, so we'll see if we can get to about half before I kick off the proceedings and then the rest can catch up. So a little bit of housekeeping while you're waiting. What makes this really interactive and allows me to give the most amount of value to you is your questions. Now, how can you lodge those questions? If you're watching on a PC or a laptop or notebook screen and you've got access to a mobile device and you're a Facebook user, you can send us a message on Facebook. So you go to the Best Practice Certification Facebook page, click the send message button, and you can send us a message and we'll pick that message up. Or Rowan's actually standing here. There's a few people here in the office to my left, and there's a live chat function on our website. So if you have got another device or if you'd like to open another window in your browser while you're listening to the webinar and you're listening to what I've got to say, you can pop across onto a browser, hop onto the Best Practice, so www.bestpracticecertification.com.au website. There's a little live chat pops up and Rowan is actually sitting at his desk monitoring the live chat. So send your questions. Rowan will run up to the window and show me those questions and then I can answer them for you. I'll give you a shout out, say hello. So I've got a great number of people on now, so I will kick off with our Internal Audits Made Easy webinar. Look, this is just an hour. Thanks, Beck. This is just an hour that we've got to spend together this afternoon. So one little small housekeeping or trick, if you like, or tip, if you're on a mobile device or if you're on your desktop and you know how to take a screenshot, as we go through the slides, a good way to capture the content today is do screenshots. So if you're on a mobile device like an iPhone, you can press the home button and the power button and it'll screenshot what you're looking at. So it is a good idea in future to watch these webinars on a mobile device. They're quite a cool way to consume this content because you can watch it anywhere. Pick up the email and watch it on an iPhone or a Samsung or something like that, or a tablet or an iPad. That's the great thing about what we're doing here at Best Practice is we are very dynamic and you can take us anywhere in the world. The other thing too is if you lose the feed, now we are running a high-speed upload to try and give you the highest definition as possible in terms of our upload. If you've got issues with clarity and crystallization and those sorts of things, that'll be your download speed at your end. And I apologise for your download speed, but we are streaming at a high-speed internet connection to a mobile phone tower. So we're doing our best that we can to get you to the highest definition possible. Now, just on that, if the feed drops out, if you're not happy with it, don't panic. YouTube is doing us a favour and recording this webinar like all of our webinars, and we will email out the link to the recording tonight once this finishes. So YouTube does a bit of buffering at the end, a bit of technical stuff, gives us a recording, and then we copy that link into an email and send it out to everybody that registered. So don't delay, don't get too upset if you miss us. You'll certainly see that recording. So if you've got to take a phone call, if you need to get back to work, if you need to do what you've got to do, then go ahead and do that. You can watch us at a later date. It'll sit on our YouTube channel. It'll be unlisted, so you will need the link, but you can always email us here at the office if you don't get that email. So, okay, without further ado, I don't want to bang on too much about best practice today. I just want to say that there is a few things that we do. Obviously, we're a certification company, and right here above my head are some examples of what a certificate would look like. So if you're not a client of best practice and we're not out doing best practice certification assessments with you, it's a bit of, I guess, that's our third-party auditing business that we do here at Best Practice. Just a few examples of what our amazing certificates look like. And above my head there, I know it's small and it's on the screen, but you can see our certification logo. So the red one is for ISO 9001. The green one that you see there is for environmental management. And the yellow one for OH&S, or occupational health and safety, or workplace health and safety. And the black one is data security, which is one of the new standards. So, you know, quality, environment, safety, data security. We also do food audits. We do some other unique little programs that are specific to industries. But a lot of what we do here at Best Practice is around those certifications. And really that's the segue to what we're talking about today, is that internal audits, you know, they're a smaller mini version of what we do in the big third-party auditing world. But they are quite a good little business improvement tool, and they're one of the things that I'm really passionate about. We are very active on social media, if you haven't noticed. We do a lot, obviously, on YouTube. So just be aware that there's 3 or 4 videos a week coming out on YouTube. There's been some fantastic talking business interviews that have taken place in this very room here at Best Practice HQ. The beautiful picture that you see in the background of some of our videos is behind me here. I'm in front of a green screen, and that picture's behind us. So this is the room where all the action happens. Just in the last week, we've interviewed Isaac Buckley, who's an up-and-coming boxer from Sydney in Australia. Watch him. He's in his mid-30s. He's quite a passionate athlete, taking on boxing. But what he's doing is he's starting to form up the Isaac Buckley business, if you like, so business tips and tricks and goals and fitness goals as well. So he's got a few of us inspired here in the Best Practice office to be doing some more intense fitness training to get ourselves fitter, and certainly myself. We've got a bit of a competition running at the moment where we're doing 100 push-ups a day for 100 days, which is quite exciting. It's just something we came up here, you know, to get people motivated and inspired here at Best Practice. So lots of stuff happening. So jump across and have a look at the YouTube channel after we finish today. There's some good little videos there. They come out weekly. There's different things happening on Facebook. There's Beck, who's here in the room with me at the moment, monitoring what's going on, also posts regularly to Instagram. And June's there as well. She posts to Instagram. It looks like some questions are coming in. Thank you very much. So yeah, hit our website, hit Facebook, and any of those questions, the guys will bring them over and I'll answer them for you. So a little bit on LinkedIn. Lots of, you know, in fact, actually, I'm quite active on LinkedIn and Twitter. So you can actually follow me on LinkedIn and Twitter, and you can also contact me directly on LinkedIn and Twitter, and I like to answer people's questions and help you. So if you're at a bottleneck, there's a technical question, something about a standard, something about internal auditing, look, I'm always available to answer questions. It's what I'm motivated to do, and I love helping people. So there's no cost associated with that. You know, if I've got time to answer your questions, I will make the effort to do that. And a good time to send me questions is, you know, later in the evening after work's finished for the day, and I've put my son to bed and, you know, done all the story reading and that sort of stuff. I love answering people's questions. So that's just a little bit about how we like to help people here at Best Practice and what I'm passionate about doing, which is helping you guys with your career and also with the businesses that you work for. So I've got some tips and tricks about internal auditing, so let's get straight into that content. Quick shout out to the Training Academy. I won't bang on a lot about it, but the revenue from our online training courses that are delivered in this sort of format, that pays for these webinars and the free content that we put out to everybody. So we'd love your support in our Training Academy, and I've got a special offer and a discount for you at the end of this webinar, and I'd appreciate, you know, if that's something you think that's relevant, jump on board with us, and we reinvest the revenue from our trainees straight back into more free content, which is quite exciting. Okay, so let's quickly talk about internal audits. We've got lots to cover. I'll try and stick to the time. I've got a clock there behind the camera, so I'll try and stick to the time so that you guys can get back to work. So keep firing those questions in. As I go through this content, I've got a Q&A session at the end. I'll stay on the Facebook page afterwards, so please hit me with those questions as we go. Okay, so internal audits. Why is it so important, or why is it important? Well, Edwards Deming, when he put together the original quality improvement or business improvement cycle, established, and without going into the long history of it, established the continual improvement cycle that talked about plan, do, check, and act in that cycle of continual improvement. So plan, do, check, act. And if you've been around this industry for a while, you might have heard about that. It's still very real, it's still very live, it's something that's been around for a very, very long time, and it's part of the embedded cycle of continual improvement. So plan, do, check, and act. And without going into too much detail, internal audits sit in the checking part. And there's a lovely phrase that I like to use a lot, which is, are we doing what we said we would do? And so when we take that phrase, are we doing what we said we would do, and we apply that to the ISO standards. All of the ISO standards talk about internal audits, and they set that up as one of the tools to help you improve how you do business. An internal audit's really about going and finding out if we're doing what we said we would do. So if you're an internal auditor and you're struggling to sort of motivate yourself to do this, or if you're working in a business where you'd like to know a little bit more about how you're going, and certainly we've got a big team here at Best Practice. I don't know what everybody's up to, every hour of every day. And so we do internal audits here, and it gives me, as the CEO here at Best Practice, a little bit of insight into how we're tracking, particularly around areas of compliance that might be a risk. So we have a regulator, or we have actually a number of regulators here at Best Practice, depending on the program that we're working in. It could be government, it could be Commonwealth government, it could be an international regulator. They come and check on us and talk to us and go through and look at how we're tracking. And so I like to get a bit of a heads up or a bit of an insight into how we're going, so we can fix things and we can keep our systems running correctly so that our regulator doesn't get too upset with us. So are we doing what we said we would do? Now, I don't mean to be going over old ground if you've been around the industry for a long time, but that's still very much a relevant comment, and it's a good way to go into your business, into your organisation, and speak with the people. If getting people to engage with your internal audits is a challenge, it's a good way to build on that. So, why are internal audits important? I really do need to talk about this slide, is that it helps us to understand and accomplish our business objectives. So if there's a business objective to keep your customers happy, internal audits sit down in the process of, are we following our processes that we set out, in terms of what our product delivery or service delivery is for our business, and if we're doing what we said we would do, then ultimately our customers will be happy. So internal audits on a regular basis are going to help you find little problems with the company that maybe the customer doesn't know about yet, but it gives you an opportunity to sort of get in front of that and fix the things that you're doing before it becomes a big problem. And I see lots of organisations that maybe don't have ISO systems in place, and organisations that don't do internal audits, and I apologise for swearing, but sometimes the shit hits the fan. And so what we start to see is that this big disaster occurs that could have been prevented by just monitoring what's going on in the business. So internal audits, part of that monitoring process. So we talk there about monitoring and evaluating processes and procedures. And I'll get into the nuts and bolts of how we do that with internal audits, but that's why they're important, because it does give you that visibility, and particularly as organisations in typical corporate world have one or two managers at the top, or a board with a CEO and some executives and then lots of people. There's some confidence and assurance that comes from internal audits around what we can do to improve. And certainly I was on quite a big audit last week where the client was looking for some support around, could we see gaps or could we see issues that they might have that they can't see, and also our sort of professional view of what some of the focal points for them to fix in terms of recommendations. So, and obviously creating a roadmap for improvement is looking at, and that the context around that is maybe a gap analysis. Internal audits can be a skill, or audits can be a tool used to conduct a gap analysis or a review of an organisation. Once you do that review, you obviously end up with a set of issues potentially, or things that we found that are not quite right. We're not doing what we said we would do, and we can start to evaluate, well, is what we said we would do the right thing? So I guess there's two parts to the outputs of audits, which is our process something that needs to be improved, or is what we're doing something that needs to be improved, and we can talk more about that. So it's like going to the gym and getting on the scales. How do we go, and what else could we do to improve? So I try to go to the gym a couple of times a week. 3 or 4 times is my sort of optimal frequency, if you like. But what I don't do is I don't go to the gym for 1 week once a year, because I never get there. And so, if you're in an organisation that typically does their internal audits, once a year for a week, I'd sort of question the value there. It's probably more about, it'd be more disruptive than it would be value adding to your organisation. And I can certainly see, we look across all the audits, that we conduct here at Best Practice. We do about 3,500 audits a year, depending on the year. Year by year as we're growing. And I think that probably an observation I would make is that the organisations that find their internal audits or their performance to be struggling be the ones that maybe don't take sort of a strategic view in terms of use of this particular tool. So little tiny audits more often, much more valuable than whole weeks where it's disruptive to the business, once a year, for example. So use that analogy. We don't just eat once a year, we eat every day. You have breakfast every morning, breakfast, lunch and dinner. And that's because we need the key ingredients to keep our bodies running through the day, and internal audits are no different. Well recognised from the ISO standards. Thanks, Beck. Let's move on. Okay, it is a requirement of ISO standards, so all ISO standards require internal audits to be conducted. And also the ISO standards require internal auditors to be trained. And so if you are a client of Best Practice, we do our internal auditor training for free. It's part of your certification here at Best Practice. You get a subscription to the internal auditor course. So if you are a client of Best Practice and you didn't know that, you know that now. So reach out to us here in the marketing team and we'll get that seat on that course sorted out for you. But when you look at the ISO standards and now the management system specifications, so the ISO standards for management systems, so quality management systems, safety, environment, data security, food management systems, all recognise that internal audits are a critical component to ensuring that that system's in place, well structured, and will help the business to prevent issues occurring and also help the business to improve. And so it does make does call up internal audits as a sort of a formal term. I've seen lots of different ways of conducting internal audits. I've seen things like project reviews, business reviews, process reviews, that all fall into that sort of category of an internal audit. And certainly here at Best Practice, we try and avoid the third-party audit terminology, and we call them best practice assessments. So you'll hear us refer to what we're doing with our clients, what we're doing out in the field, in business is best practice assessments. And it's got a really positive feel to it. That best practice is coming in to do a best practice assessment, not best practice is coming in to do an audit. So when we look at that process and we understand what we're up to, and we're thinking strategically about how this adds value, putting a positive spin on it is definitely something that I highly recommend. And for those of you in the audience that know me well, you know that I take that positive view all of the time in terms of how we want to add value and improve, and it breaks down barriers. So all of the ISO standards require internal audits to be conducted. It's obviously why we're talking about it today, and that they require internal auditors to be trained. Now, how you train your internal auditors is totally up to you, but it's around knowledge, skills, and competency. And the ISO standards don't say that you need to go to a specific registered training organisation. They just say some training is a good idea, and it recognises that people need to know what they're doing. And so I think it is important to look at getting some either a master and apprentice type relationship within the business, if you've got that got that skill set in house, or certainly some external training like what we would provide here at Best Practice. So that's the veiled sales pitch to say that we've got internal auditor training. If you haven't got any, or if you need people to be trained, we can certainly help you there. But in terms of how that training could take place, if you've got internal audit skills, or if you've got auditing skills and you can impart those on more junior members or other members of your organisation, then I'd highly recommend that you did that first. You tried to help people, guide them and coach them without incurring any external costs. and then start to look at the cost-benefit analysis of maybe getting some outside help. Your management system will obviously define what training is, but certainly that's my view, is training is about, guidance and coaching and helping more than going externally. So I don't like hearing, I can't do this because I haven't been trained. I need to do a course. I like people to have a go, because a lot of people do their training and learning by themselves, and I do a lot of my learning with Google, just Googling things and working things out and looking at YouTube and that sort of stuff. And in fact, there's a couple of great internal auditor videos on our YouTube channel, and in fact some of the more popular videos on our YouTube channel are the ones around internal auditing. So you can go to our YouTube channel, you can get some free video content, you can go into your internally in your business, and you can do that sort of stuff for free. So what's next, Spec? Okay, I've talked a little bit about the plan, do, check, act cycle, but I think not only does plan, do, check, act apply to your business, like have a business plan, go away and execute, check how you're going, and here at Best Practice we have a big dashboard of statistics, and then we can act on it, but we can bring that right down into internal auditing as well. So don't forget that you can plan, do, check, act with your internal audits. Set yourself a plan in terms of how you're going to go about doing these internal audits. Start to obviously do and implement and execute what you think might be a great way to do these things, and then check up on yourself, do a self-evaluation of how your internal audit process is going, and then obviously look at opportunities for improvement. Now that's certainly what we do here at Best Practice all of the time, and just as a current topic here at Best Practice is we're moving our internal audit checklists onto a Google form, and using Google Forms and Google Sheets we can send out a unique URL to people doing assessments, and they can do those assessments on a Google form, and that pre-populates auto-magically a Google Sheet back here at Best Practice. Yes, it's all secure, but that is, it's been an improvement opportunity. So instead of using a Microsoft Word-based, document that's on a laptop that someone goes out on site and comes back and saves it and sticks it in Dropbox, and then people gets emailed and people read it, we're starting to look at our opportunities for efficiencies around, we've sort of tried to skip the step of developing an app as such and gone straight to Google Forms. The great thing about Google Forms is they're free. Google Sheets are free. They're things that you can use with a Gmail account, so you can get that free Gmail account and you can start to experiment. And it is quite cool. You can set questions up, you can set responses up, and you can auto-magically populate spreadsheets. So that's going to make our auditing process ourselves a little bit more seamless here at Best Practice. And it's going to mean that one of our assessors can just take their iPhone, because everyone here at Best Practice has iPhones, take your iPhone out on site, open the Google form, fill out, answer the questions that are part of the assessment, and then go forward. And that's as a result of checking how we're going with our audit process and starting to act on that and implement improvements. And that's certainly the intent of what we're talking about here with Plan, Do, Check, Act. So there's the Plan, Do, Check, Act of the whole management system, quality, safety, environment, and then there's Plan, Do, Check, Act, which is the continual improvement cycle of your own unique little internal audit processes. So something to consider in terms of how you're actually going to capture your content, and certainly start to think about the plan, if that makes sense. So don't forget as we go, if you've got any questions or any questions come to mind, hit the live chat on www.bestpracticecertification.com.au on our website. Rowan is literally about 10 metres from me, and he can pick up those questions, run them over to me, and we'll cover those in the Q&A at the end of the session. So we've got about another 25 minutes worth of content to get through with you guys, so start sending in those questions if you've got any. If there's any sort of burning desires, if you want to remain anonymous, then we can certainly do that. Just say, look, I don't want my name mentioned. No question is a silly one, and I'll answer those as we go. So either straight through on the Facebook page or straight through on the live chat with June and Rowan. They're both there. Okay, what have we got next, Spec? Questions. Not questions as in your questions, questions as in our questions. So for those of you who have heard me present before with regards to auditing and internal audits, there's one question that I lean on, or I rely on personally as an auditor the most, and that's the question, could you please show me? And you know, when we're training new assessors here at Best Practice, we talk a lot about, well, what's the content, what's the context, what are we talking about, and how can we be really, really efficient? And a lot of people, when they're thinking about going and undertaking audits, and I hear you guys, you might be a little bit anxious, you might be a little bit scared, you might be a bit, feeling underprepared or under-resourced, then the default question is, please show me. So obviously there's some assumptions. There's some assumptions that you know what you're going to be looking at. You know what the organisation wants to know. So back to the beginning of this presentation is where I said, are we doing what we said we would do? Is if you were to be going, you've been tasked with going and doing an internal audit, you could say, well, what would you guys like to know? What would the management like to know? What would the client like to know? What would the organisation like to know? And are we doing what we said we would do? So could you please show me what we're meant to be doing? Now, that could be to the management, and the management might say, well, here's the process or here's the procedure that I would like you to follow. And so it's a really great open question that can be used in all parts of this process. So it's show me, could you please show me? Could you please show me the criteria? Could you please show me the process, the procedure, the contract, the document, the thing that we're meant to be doing that we said we would do? Then I'll go and ask the rest of the business to show me if they're doing what they said they would do or what we said they would do. And so please show me, and show me is the single most important question, I believe, in executing this process, and really just gives you an opportunity to then just absorb content. So when you're out doing internal audits or external audits or third-party audits, just taking that please show me approach. It's not invasive, it's not combative, it's not angry, it's not attacking, it's just could you please show me. So setting it up with a bit of a context to say, well, I'm here to help the business improve, could you please show me what you said you would do, in the context of customers or OH&S or environmental management or food or data security. So lots of different options. So that's a really great question to sort of kick this process off. And then when we talk about some of the formal training that when we're doing audits, we do a deep dive into the different types of questions. And questions, you know, as we go through this process, that's the key role of an auditor. An auditor is a skilled questioner, if that makes sense, with my limited use of the English language here and punctuation and comprehension, but it's around questioning and the technique for questioning. Not so much reporting. I find that a lot of assessors get very anxious about their reporting requirements and what they need to do, but it's more importantly, you're going to get good quality responses from people with good quality questions. And I think that one thing that I have observed, and it's from another part of learning that I've done, but I bring it across into assessments, and that is that the solution lies in the mind with the problem. How do you put a problem into someone's mind? With a question. And so as we start to look at that, we start to find as auditors and assessors that often the business improvement recommendations, observations, non-conformances, ideas, suggestions come from the people that we're spending quality time with. We're out doing interviews, we're out moving around the business. I go out and move around lots of businesses, and I often find with good quality reflecting questions that they will unpack what the issues are and what the priorities are, and then the role of the assessor is just to work with the organisation, work with the person that you're interviewing or the auditee, to just start to capture that stuff in a meaningful way, in a meaningful report that's going to help to influence the business to move forward and have good quality business improvement. And so, as you know, in terms of a practitioner of assessments and someone who's participating in this webinar, I feel that your responsibility is to look into enhancing your skills around how you ask questions that are open or closed or direct or indirect or reflecting. And they are all the different sort of micro techniques that you can use to ask questions to really have the people that you're working with and the people that you're assessing and whom are showing you how they work. How you do that, you will find that the solutions to go forward come from those people as much as they may from you and your experience. So it's not really the role of an assessor or an auditor to be recommending solutions, and so that's why I write that question. It's sort of double-barreled around the solution lies in the mind with the problem, and with good quality questioning you will start to extract that out of your auditees. Now, with that particular slide, my last point there is that an audit obviously is spending time with someone else. And so what I didn't talk about there was it's very hard to ask a question of a document that's on the desk in front of you. And so I tend not to steer people towards lots of time spent reviewing and reading and writing and marking up documents and sitting doing desktop reviews. The good quality business improvement comes from good quality reflecting, questioning, good quality time professionally with individuals in your organisation as they show you what they do and they show you what they said they would do and how they do it and maybe the mismatches between that sort of stuff. So if you've got any questions, don't forget to hit the live chat because they're waiting for those and we're getting a few questions coming in, so go right ahead. Okay, what's next, Beck? A bit parched this afternoon. What can make it successful? Well, everything I've already talked about, obviously, and then a few other things. Obviously, staff involvement and the involvement of people, and that's a critical part to this process. That, you know, I can sit and read documents and read policies and read procedures till the end of time and, you know, be making lots of lists of recommendations, but I feel that the really good quality results and the organisations that go forward, sorry, I'm being talked to. Excuse me for one moment. No, we're all good. Okay, questions? Yeah, got them. Okay, perfect. Here they come. Okay, so with regards to the real good quality business improvement that I observe, it comes from groups and teams and partnerships in the organisation. And so, excuse me, as someone enhances their skills around questioning, which would be you, the assessor, and you the auditor, you know, as you enhance those skills, you're going to enhance the quality of results that you're going to get from undertaking reviews and assessments. And it's like bringing something into focus with a telescope or a set of binoculars, is that as your skill of questioning and investigation gets stronger, so too will the clarity and focus that you have in terms of looking at the organisation, choosing where to prioritise your time and prioritise your investigations, so that does add value to the business. So the more that you do it, the more that you practice, the better you will get at this process. So staff involvement is absolutely critical, or people involvement, or organisation involvement, and it's kind of pointless just sitting reading stuff. And I think if I could say that where I've seen significant deficiencies out in industry is I've seen people waste a lot of time reading documents, and at the end of the day, we know that documents are not the best way to get humans to improve and not the best way to give humans instructions. The master and apprentice, parent-child relationship, you know, and quality time is really where good quality learning and good quality competency comes from. And, you know, audits and assessments that spend lots of time looking at documents are not an effective control in terms of getting human behaviour. And so I sort of, you know, they're a way to issue a set of instructions. They're not the way to issue a set of instructions. So when you're undertaking assessments, just acknowledge that there's more than one way to give a set of instructions or communicate with the organisation. And you may be asked to audit things like videos, posters, work instructions. Are we doing what we said we would do? And so how do we say we do things? It's not always policies and procedures. It could be websites, it could be instructions, it could be databases. Lots of different ways of giving process guidance in terms of what you want people to do. For example, the cooking industry, and I talk about this a lot, is all of the celebrity chefs that are on television, they're giving instructions in terms of how to cook dishes with the use of charisma and personality, ingredients, and maybe the supporting website in terms of teaching you or giving you guidance on how to cook a particular dish or a cake or something like that. So it's not always about the black and white documents. So please don't just automatically start by reading documents. Have a look at how does the organisation give guidance to its people to do the tasks that it needs to complete, whether they're safety, quality, or environment related. And obviously different experiences create the best improvement strategies. And so as we start to look around the organisation, we're going to start to, you know, embed questions in people's minds. They're going to come out with solutions, and we're going to see that, you know, that well-rounded approach. You know, looking at things from a whole bunch of different angles, speaking to lots of people, you're going to get a better picture, not just one opinion. So imagine a team session where the team work together to look for improvements Then develop a plan to work on the most important areas and ideas identified. And that's going to come from you, the assessor, spending good quality time becoming a good quality investigator. So if you want to steal our term, best practice assessments, you say, I'm not going to call them internal audits anymore because they're boring. People are scared of it. I can't get buy-in. Take our term, best practice assessments, and use that. I would encourage you to do that. You want to put a really positive, or a project review, or a business improvement review. Call your internal audits a business improvement review or a best practice review so that you can start to look at what our next practices and best practices might be. Thanks, Beck. What's next? Top focus points. Okay, so in terms of our top focus points, as we go through this process, prioritize what's important to the business. Now, you might not be able to do that early on, but the more you practice and the more you go through cycles of internal audits and the more you break down the organisation into small parts, you're going to start to see that there may be more, there may be business priorities or areas to focus on. And so if I just give you, if you've got a notepad and a pen handy, here's a couple of quick tips in terms of how to do that. Start to look at it, and if you've seen some of the YouTube videos, you will have heard me say this before, start to look at the areas of the business. So as the assessor, the areas of the business that maybe are upsetting customers the most. So if you've got some sort of formal process to record customer complaints, or you're aware of issues that are happening, can you go and investigate that particular area of the business? Start getting to people together, asking questions, doing an investigation, and you're going to start to unpack where an area of priority might be. So obviously a quality management system is about looking after customer satisfaction and looking after customer expectations, and that would be a good area to start in terms of a top tip to prioritise. From a safety perspective, as bad as this sounds, the areas of the business where you're talking about the potential for significant injuries, incidents and fatalities, good area to start with safety auditing. Please don't just walk through the organisation and look at the dates on fire extinguishers and the dates on first aid kits and whether electrical leads are tested and tagged. The important areas of the business are where the real risk is, and it's kind of pointless here at Best Practice looking at things like power leads on the floor for all of our equipment when the real risk for us is around fatigue and travel, because we have people travelling everywhere every day. That's a big part of our business, is having our people move around to the different sites every day, and fatigue and driving and transport and travel and crossing roads and all those sorts of things are the big risks, not so much the power leads. And so it's kind of pointless, and if you do focus on those things, you will lose the support of your organisation very quickly. From an environmental management perspective, maybe the things that are the environmental concerns of your customers, because you can use that as a marketing opportunity, or your staff. And it's not necessary that, are we recycling paper and have we got composting in our staff kitchen? It's about starting to think about the real environmental impacts of your business. And if you look at Best Practice, just as an example, to give you a practical example about us, the biggest environmental impact we have here at Best Practice is how we help you with your environmental impacts and the knowledge and skills we've got here around environmental management and environmental guidance. And so, yeah, sure, yes, we recycle our paper. Yes, we have composting. Yes, we recycle our plastics and all those sorts of things here at Best Practice. But the important aspect here for me, the point I want to get across, is it's about you guys and how we can help you with your environmental performance. And we can affect over 1,000 companies with some good quality advice. And 1,000 companies out there in the world is a lot of people. And that's quite a positive thing that I'm quite proud of. Obviously, top tip 2 is involving your team and asking them to prepare for your visit to their work area or their part of the business. Now, what's really cool about that is the tangible benefit of internal audits. And it comes from 2 things. One is, if you want to ask for some of those guys to help you do the assessment, like they sit with you on your side of the table if you're going to sit at a table, so they help you do the assessment. And the other is the people that you're going to see, because if you said, look, what we're doing is a business improvement project, we're going to come out and do a business improvement review or a best practice review, what we like to understand is, are you doing the things that you said you would do? They're going to start, the minute that you show up, they're going to start to say, look, we're really worried about this because none of our procedures are up to date. You say, well, great. Why do you think keeping procedures up to date is important? And they'll say, well, it's a great training tool for new people, all those sorts of things. So before you even start the assessment, you're going to have improvement suggestions and business improvement suggestions coming through. However, word of warning, you've got to manage the anxiety. So people are going to start to get really upset and anxious, and you say, listen, it's a business improvement assessment. don't spend the night before the assessment like making stuff up or creating documents and policies and procedures, because as professional assessors, we see that time and time again. You look at the date modified and you see it was midnight the night before an audit. It's kind of pointless really, because people are just tired and stressed and anxious, all that sort of stuff. It's like, let's just have a look at the organisation as it is, and then start to look at what the business improvement priorities are for the business, the ones that are focused, not just the whole lot of housekeeping and tidying up that happens the night before the assessment. So good idea, get people to prepare, and definitely if you can get other people, if you can sort of coordinate other team members, then they're going to learn about different parts of the business, and that's just good for business, because they'll start to understand, you know, the issues and priorities of the different teams, and then you get cross-team pollinisation. And I've seen it so many times, and it's an absolutely fantastic outcome. So the more that you can, don't just take on all the internal audits yourself, but get other people involved, even if they're just as an observer, use the term observer, come and do a best practice assessment and do an observation, then you're going to get some great results from people, because they're going to learn a lot about your organisation. So, top tip number 3, divide your internal audits into 3 sections. And those 3 sections are getting ready, so reading, finding, preparing, quality time, spending quality time with people, asking questions. What were those questions again? What was that top question? The most important question I said was, show me. That's exactly right. So show me, so spending quality time, having people show you how they work, show you what they said they would do, and show you what they're doing, and show you the amazing services. They're going to be quite proud of what they do, so you know, just be careful that you don't sort of dig too deep and demolish that pride, but just work with them and say, look, that's amazing what you guys have just done. Here's a couple of extra opportunities. They're going to make it even more amazing. So that positive spin I'm putting on things, it doesn't need to be negative, non-conformance, corrective action sort of focused. You can say, hey, look, we've got a whole bunch of really great opportunities for improvement, particularly this one's critical. Executing on this opportunity for improvement is really going to avoid a whole bunch of risk in the future. That's really exciting. And so I've taken quite a critical issue, which could be legal compliance, and turned it into a really positive, motivating thing. So, of course, if people aren't getting any buy-in, you know, you need to question your role as the internal auditor. Is it your role to be the policeman, to be the big stick, or are you the delegate of management, and it's management's responsibility to do performance management of anarchists, if you want to use that term in the business. So have a think about that. I try to take that positive spin, that independent spin, so that we get a good quality picture, and then we can move forward. And then obviously finalising your notes and recommendations to your organisation. Now, a long report, quite often useless. People don't like them. Some of our assessors write big long reports here at Best Practice. It's not a requirement. And what we find is that clients just don't read them. So it's about having a communication that's effective, that gets the business to improve. So you need to think about that. What's going to be a really neat, little, short, efficient, time-efficient, resource-efficient way to get the maximum benefit for the organisation? Could be a little video tour. It could be just grabbing a manager and taking them back to a very specific part that you found, and having them look at it, and that could be the way that you report your opportunities for improvement. So ensuring your observations are recorded with a positive spin is probably my most critical tip, and dividing your internal audits into 3 parts. So top tip for internal audits, I believe the average internal audit should go for no more than an hour. So it's 20 minutes of prep, 20 minutes with a few questions and looking at one little process, and 20 minutes of wrap up and an observation. Now, if that means that you do 8 internal audits in an 8-hour day, then great, but I think the average internal audit, just to give you some confidence around keeping them really short, really quick, really tight, and really simple, is try not to go over an hour, and just break it into 3 20-minute segments. And you know, spending 20 minutes with someone, of course if you want to spend more time, that's great, but I'd like you to be doing more little tiny audits and practice and review and get better, than doing big long audits and not liking it, and you know not wanting to start and being fearful of it. I think that's definitely the way that I'd recommend going forward. Thanks, Beck. What's next? Okay, so a little bit about the Best Practice Training Academy. There's a couple of courses there that may be relevant to what you're doing. There's a couple of courses in our training academy around ISO 9001, where we go through clause by clause and talk about the intent of the clauses of the standard. We've obviously got an internal auditing course, which has got a whole bunch of videos and a booklet, quite a thick booklet to read, be a reference, an ISO 14001 course in there too. So those couple of courses are probably the most relevant to what we've talked about today. The Internal Auditor course there is a course that we used to deliver, and I've delivered thousands of times face-to-face to lots of people. We've taken that online. It is a great little course. Now the cool thing about our training academy is it's there, you put your email address in, you purchase your course, and you get a username and password, and you can come back to it any time. So if you've done training in the past, you might have the booklet, but that training may have been 6, 12 months, a year ago, 10 years ago, and certainly you know, my very first 5-day lead auditor course was way back in 1999. So you know, that course is long and forgotten. You know, I've got bits of the manual from then, but the cool thing about our training academy, what we've built for you, is that when you buy your course, it's yours forever. So it's on a website, username and password, you log in, and it's all there for you whenever you need it. So you can do that course once, twice, 1,000 times. It's absolutely fantastic. You can go back to it. So a couple of little courses. Those are obviously the images and the icons, and they're in there for you and to complement what you're doing. So have we got some questions?
Yes.
We do have some questions. What do we got? Lots of questions.
Yep.
Excellent. More questions. Hit the live chat. Hit our Facebook page. Rowan and June are still sitting there watching the website, so I'll answer these ones and we'll get to yours and we'll keep going. What do we got?
What if you do your internal audit and you don't like what you find?
Now, okay, the question was, what if you do your internal audit and you don't like what you find? Don't pull a face. Now, I've seen this in the past where someone might put their personal judgment or their personal opinion into this process, and it is important to recognise, is that something that the business is okay with? And so the question is, if you don't like it, then it is important to be professional and try and bury your personal opinion and maybe go to the executives in that organisation and say, is this something you don't like either? Like, I'm not, and I'd be very diplomatic in this instance. I'd say, look, I'm not really liking what I'm seeing, and it's a confidential discussion with the executives to say, well, is that something that you like or don't like? Because it may be something that they've got, it may be a risk or an issue that they've got an appetite for and they're okay with. But certainly you want to be very, very careful, because some people may not realise that they're doing the wrong thing, because there are a lot of people that are just out there trying to just do their job every day. Now, I can't remember the exact quote, but Edwards Deming, who was sort of the forefather of total quality management and all this ISO stuff, he talked about this concept that most people go to work each day to try to do a great job. And they try to, and it's the systems and processes and a lack of resources that let them down. So you want to just be a little bit careful with the, it's okay to not like it, you just want to be a bit careful around the context that you put back to the executives on that topic.
Is it better to do internal audits on a procedure or better on the whole process?
Okay, so is it better to do an internal audit on a procedure or the whole process? Look, I'm giving you some sort of limitations. So obviously I talked about the time frames after that question came in. So I think that if you can fit, look, process assessments and process audits are definitely the best way to go. Pick a customer order and follow it all the way through the business, whether it's a service business or a product business. So, you know, if it's a product business and it's got a warehouse, you pick the order, you look at how it's picked, packed, dispatched, all that sort of stuff. Or if it's a customer service, if you're a construction project, you know, you follow that whole process through. Now, I think process auditing is the best way to go. However, it takes time. And so maybe it's not about picking a specific procedure, but it's about looking at the process, breaking the process down into 20-minute segments or 1-hour segments, and doing them sort of back to back as you move through your internal audit process. Does that help?
Yep.
Okay.
Angela is interested to know how you recommend internal review processes for our external contractors.
Anthea or Angela?
Angela.
Angela. So for our external contractors, so best practices, external contractors. So we do a couple of things here at Best Practice. We do 3 things. We have internal audits, obviously, which is what we're talking about. We have other controls to guarantee our process conformance. So we do internal audits, so we sample and we do internal audits of how our processes are being executed. But the other thing that we do is we do an independent review of every single audit that takes place here at Best Practice, whether it's an external contractor or an internal one. And we do witness assessments. So we send a senior person from the business out on a random sampling basis to do witness assessments. And there's a couple of other things that we do is we do spot checks on FaceTime. Now they're not formally written into our process, but we do spot checks on FaceTime. And don't forget that if our customers don't like people, they're pretty quick to tell us. So we do get a lot of emails here, both positive and negative feedback. And unfortunately, as a service-based business, auditing's a tough gig, right? So we do get people that our clients don't like, and they're pretty quick to tell us, don't send that person back. And there's some of our clients will tolerate that process, but certainly there's a lot of them out there that I don't like that person, or here's some feedback, and I get these sort of midnight, 1 a.m. emails from people. So to answer your question, what are the processes? We do internal audits, but we also do an independent review. So we have an independent reviewer who's scheduled on standby to review every single assessment, and we obviously do witness assessments. Oh, and of course our regulator. So our regulator does a JASANS, which gives us our accreditation to do our ISO auditing. They will do witness assessments. So they'll witness assess anyone we've signed off as an assessor here at Best Practice. So we've got checkers that check the checkers that do the checking of the people doing the checking, and that's you.
What's the best way to start the internal audit checklist? And do we have any recommendations for time?
I think the best way to... So the question was around what's the best way to start an internal audit and start an internal audit checklist. Look, if we were to go back to a procedural review, I think just printing out a process or printing out a procedure, if it's documented, or going and seeing someone and just saying, look, what's the process? What's the procedure that you guys follow, and can you show me? I think that's probably, without doing sort of any preparation or desktop preparation, I think, even if you said, look, I'm not going to do an audit, but I'm going to come and sit with you, and I just want to talk through what you guys do. What's the processes that you follow? What is it that you guys implement? That's a really good informal way to start, and then you can build a bit more formality around the process. But ISO 9001 doesn't say this process needs to be formal. It doesn't say conduct formal internal audit. It doesn't say, like the third-party auditing industry that we are in, it used to be, ties and suits and formal lunches and formal meetings and all that sort of stuff, but we don't really do that too much here anymore at Best Practice. And so it's more about sort of, really just focusing on business improvement. And so how would you start? I think if I've helped you there with that sort of informality around what you can do, and then maybe take that, to be a little bit more formal. Just excuse me for a minute, I'm going to turn this light off. It's about to die.
Do we have time for...
Yeah, we keep going. Yep.
The audit schedule is based on business priority. Does Best Practice require all processes be audited internally at least once in the 3-year certification cycle, or does Best Practice respect whatever frequency the client decides? Quite technical.
So a very technical question around, do we at Best Practice require our clients to audit every single process in a 3-year cycle, or do we respect what the client wants? We respect what the client wants. It's about priority. So, don't audit document control. Look, I want you guys to be focusing on the things that can upset your customers. I want your management systems to be focused on real good quality business improvement. So, what is your business plan? What could you guys? What are your risks? So, where are the areas of your business that could really upset your customers and bring your business unstuck? Where are the areas of your business where you could have safety incidents and issues and injuries and fatalities, crazy stuff like that? Where are the parts of your business where you could have, environmental disasters or data security breaches? Focus on those areas. Like, it's not just, don't start at the top and go to the bottom and tick them all off over a 3-year period. I really want you guys to be focused on using your management systems to deliver your business plan, whether it's your business plan for the business or whether it's your business plan for safety or environment, and unpack that sort of stuff. And if that means that you've got to look at, if there's an area of a business that's attracting a lot of complaints or it's just not working, if that means that all you audit in a 3-year period is that, then that's adding value. We'll deal with the formalities, around the background. I want you guys to be focusing on real good quality business improvement in high areas of risk and high areas of priority or opportunity. We've got a really amazing opportunity. We really want to launch into this market. Then support those processes as they're getting established and they're fledgling and they're immature with process reviews and business improvement reviews and recommendations, so you can get that stuff nailed down, cemented in concrete, and a good foundation of the business so that you can build on it and grow and move forward. That's what this is all about.
I've got another one from Angela. What about where we are managing external service delivery? for us as a service deliverer? So this is an add-on to the technical question.
Okay, Angela, thanks for the question. So what about auditing external service delivery? Okay, my contractors externally delivering our services, so contract auditors going and auditing our clients, if they're not playing the game, if as your contractors or your external service provision, yeah, of course, it's an area of risk. So I think too often we carve out contractors and they're not treated as part of the team, but from a customer's perspective, are they seen as someone that's part of your business and part of your brand? And if they are and they can create brand damage, then yeah, of course, that's a focus area, and probably more so than other areas. But we do get clients come to us and say, we're not going to do the internal audits of our contractors, and our management system is not going to apply to our contractors because they're not part of our business. That's rubbish. That's just how you choose to pay them. You know, the financial arrangement between a casual staff member, a volunteer, casual staff member, part-time staff member, full-time staff member, contractor, supplier, if in the eyes of the customer they're all part of your team, then they need to be part of your process using the priorities framework that I talked about earlier. If they can upset a customer or kill somebody or cause an environmental disaster, then absolutely they need to be included in part of that process. And I'm hearing a trend of technical questions, so I just want to give you the opportunity to call me or reach out to me or send in your phone number, Angela, and I'm happy to spend a couple of minutes on the phone with you just to dig a bit deeper and talk about a real focused practical example. As am I happy to talk to anyone else. If you want to send your phone number in, I can make a few calls this afternoon and try and get through you all with practical examples about your business to help you.
And the last one, what's the best method to get people involved in internal auditing?
Don't call it internal auditing. So the best method was how to get people involved in internal auditing. Don't call them internal audits. Call them process reviews or best practice assessments or business improvement reviews. I think starting with a really positive framework. I think also it's important that the leader sets the tone in the business. And so I set a really positive view as the CEO here at Best Practice and the leader that people do look to me, and I've got to have the right attitude. So if there is any sign of doubt in the leaders of the organisation around this being a robust business improvement tool, if there's any sign of doubt, your people will pick up on that very quickly and they will challenge the process. And so a couple of other good ways or assisting ways to get involved is to have the process launched by your CEO or the senior executives in the business, or a senior person in a particular area of the business, and say, look, we're going to execute this program, we're going to execute, whatever the word you want to use, this program of business improvement reviews, where we're going to get people to sit together and look for opportunities for improvement so that we can minimise the collateral damage of risks, we can minimise the collateral damage of human error. We want to look for opportunities to eliminate human error, improve competency, improve knowledge, improve process performance, improve our statistics and grow our business. And if you can, I know it sounds tough and I know it sounds hard, but they're the ways that I've seen successful, and that's, I do try and take my own medicine in terms of what I do with my team here at Best Practice. So that's it for questions.
Yep, definitely.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to hang around. It is bang on 3:30 here in Sydney, Australia, and I'll stay online. So I'll monitor the live chat. I'll go and sit out in the office near the live chat screen. So if you've got any more questions, I'll stay online. I really appreciate everybody's time today. I really appreciate everybody coming and joining us here at Best Practice. So I just want to say thank you, and I just want to quickly talk to you about, have we got an offer there on one of those slides? Not yet. Okay, there is an offer, a special discount for everybody that participated in this webinar. We're going to send out a thank you email, and that is to pop across and have a look at the Training Academy courses. And we've got a bundle deal today where we've bundled the ISO 9001 training course with our internal auditor course. And what was the price?
$590.
$590. So it's significantly discounted. It's the ISO 9001 2015 fundamentals course that we've got there, or basics course in the Training Academy, and the internal auditors course bundled. But just wait for the email to come out because we'll give you a discount code. So Beck and June are going to send that email out with this recording as soon as YouTube's finished buffering. Thanks very much for your support. So that internal auditor course is about I think it ends up being about 9 hours of videos, and you don't obviously have to watch it all at once, but and with the reading, it ends up being the equivalent of a 2-day training course. It's absolutely fantastic. There's a really good quality training manual that you can download. There's a bunch of great videos, and we've assembled all of the top tips and tricks from all of our lead assessors here at Best Practice, and we're giving that to you. So look, realistically, it's more like a lead auditor's course, but for us we call it our internal auditors course, but it's got all the stuff from our lead auditors. It's got a fantastic presenter, which is yours truly, but some great notes, PowerPoint slides, and a manual. So it's already a good course, but bundled with ISO 9001 2015, it's absolutely fantastic value. So please take up that offer. We'll get that discount code set out to everybody, and that bundle's only available until the end of the financial year. So we've got what we've got 3 weeks left to go. So thanks for joining us. Hit our YouTube channel. So if you're a YouTube consumer, we've shot lots of videos around tips and tricks on business advice, business plans, setting up strategies, doing management review, doing internal audits, doing process reviews, process maps, lots of stuff on safety, environment, quality in the YouTube channel. And if you're a social media follower, give us a like on Instagram or on our Facebook page, and hit me on LinkedIn. So over on my LinkedIn page, lots of followers there, lots of content sharing and stuff going on, and some really interesting interviews coming up. We've published 2 this morning. I think the editing's finished and they're about to go live on our YouTube channel. One with Isaac Buckley, our local boxer, who's an up-and-coming athlete, chasing the world title. So he's going through the sort of levels. He was a really interesting guy to speak to. And then also last week we were talking to Lee Dean, who's the publisher of our magazine, Certified, and also the publisher of Duck and Whale magazine, which is a Porsche culture magazine. So if you're into cars and big boys toys, that's a really interesting interview to talk about the future of cars and classic cars and all that sort of stuff. So some interesting sort of mix there in our YouTube channel. So hit subscribe, give us a like, give us a follow, and I get a bit of feedback about what to do more of and what not to do more of. So if there's stuff you don't like, tell me, so I'll stop doing it. If there's stuff you like, send me a message and I'll do more of that. So lots of questions. I'm hanging around. I'll go and sit in front of the live chat on the website. Give me a shout out, say hello. Thanks everybody for watching, and you'll see me next time on Best Practice TV. Bye for now.